I'll write that too.
So was today pretty quiet, or did Melissa get a lot of calls again?
Riptide, I think it was pretty consistent red flag.
Yeah, just a couple.
Because it was windy.
The bills are fine.
They still let people in the water because it wasn't bad.
And that will be another one.
Flag, but
2 people going this morning. I got their quote. They've been hearing things. Yeah, well, that's just what you expect.
We've had a lot of people call because they haven't got it. And they've been hearing things.
we were on the windward side. People, this is 80 into the city. This is, like east of the water was cheap. It was good. So like,
And that was 30 years
I
ago. The older I get, the more guilty I am of the, it was just yesterday. And I'm like, it was 1997. My dad did that. Just a couple years ago when I did the math, I'm like, that was a summer period. He's like, so? Like, 1986. Oh.
Well, and it has prompted some phone calls, so that way, we can look at, is it a water leak, or is it accurate?
Oh, for sure.
Each time.
So, do we have any kind of programs if people can't pay their water bills?
At the moment, not city-run programs.
That's a what?
At the moment, not city-run programs.
We need to work on it.
Yeah. But we did, that letter they sent out notifying everybody, it had information on how to get a hold of certain CIT.
Present.
Now, it's present.
There you go. Thank you. First up, we have approval of minutes for the January 27th meeting.
Move to approve minutes, regular meeting, January 27th, 2025 is written.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Anything need changed? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Thank you. Next up, we have public comments. This is for anybody who's not on the agenda to come forward and speak to a maximum of 5 minutes. Please give your first name, last name, address, and ward if you would like to speak to the council.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for allowing this time for us to be able to speak on issues that concern us. I'm Matt Segren. I live at 1201 Alston. For a number of years now, it's been a dream for my wife and I to build a shop on our property. This dream includes the need for water in said building. It was always my plan to have it trenched in from our home, as I thought this was common practice. A couple months ago, I was told this is no longer allowed under the current city codes, and that a new building like mine would need its own separate meter. The reasoning I was given for this rule was that in the past there has been an issue with individuals deciding to sell part of their property and then a need to figure out how to separate utilities. This issue has weighed on my mind a lot with the newly adopted method for water billing this year, and I think this matter needs to be reconsidered on at least a case-by-case basis or thrown out completely. Our home is small, and part of the dream for this new building would allow us to have all the storage we'll ever need to make our small home work for the life we intend to make here. We have no intentions of ever moving or separating our property if we build our shop. So the reason I was given would never apply to us, and I do not think it's fair with the new water rates or even the old ones to make us have 2 meters to pay for on one single property. I see it as nothing more than a money grab by the city, especially when the second building will not be using very much water at all just to justify a second minimum charge, of which there's no allotted gallons to be used. As it stands, I would probably be looking at close to a $200 bill every month without using hardly any more water. In fact, 2 meters would cost $122.06 a month before having used a single drop of water, and I believe the rates are set to increase again next year. I think a better way to solve this issue would be to make it if the property owner's responsibility to have the utilities separated before a sale could be made, and if the new owner wants water or other utilities, then at that point it is on them to figure out how to get it there. Instead of what we have now, which I believe will scare off others from wanting to do similar projects. In all honesty, how often does this really happen? How often does it come up? Is it really that big a deal to figure out when it does? I'm asking this council to see reason on this matter, as I believe there's a more common sense approach. Thank you, council. That's all I have.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt.
Well, I know this has been brought up in the past. Probably I'm the most outspoken one on this issue. I think, we've had meetings about it, and I know we're still supposed to be discussing that, and I think it probably should go on the next water sewer meeting, especially since it's being brought up again by the public. But either case by case, or if you have to have 2 meters, then you don't pay the minimum for one. I mean, something I think can and should be done, but that'll be definitely something we need to hash out and figure out a way that makes it fair and concise for everybody.
Especially with, to his point about the new rates, it's even more of an impact to have it. So it makes even more sense for us to find a way or to kind of help people do that, because we want people to invest, build nice buildings, and and put that in the community. That's good for our long-term tax base and good for us in general. So we want to do what we can to help that happen. So yeah, if we can put that on the next meeting, that'd be good.
And I guess to add to that, I would be surprised just how many properties are out there that have water and sewer, but they're not paying a bill because the guy living next to them is paying it for them. I'd really like to know just the reality of how many properties are like that. Because that's what it all comes down to is, well, we don't know when they sell, so we can't go in and tell them.
Right.
So I would really be surprised to find out what that number is. I think it'd be a very
tiny number.
I think it'd be probably a non-existent number in my mind.
Not non-existent. I have a water line that runs under my driveway somewhere to the neighbor's house, and we have no idea where it goes to, where the water comes from.
But you don't know where it's going to?
No.
So that's
It comes
my
from one of
point.
my spigots, and then it goes under the driveway to the neighbor's house.
We have inherited a lot of mystery lines from the days of private water and private sewer. I know as long as I've been on council, Kevin, I know you've probably seen as many.
Oh, yeah.
Every couple of years at least, we find a spring in somebody's yard, and we're like, where's that? It's a line we didn't even know was there. It's not on any of our maps. There's mystery lines. So the good thing with new build is, at least we know where the lines are, and from here forward, we can keep track, so, yeah.
I know one such property that built a new 2-car garage with a bathroom in it and water heater, and they ran it off the same meter from the house.
It's connected, right? You're talking about down on 8th Street?
No, where Butch used to live.
Oh, yeah, I guess not.
Yeah. Well, and, I mean, I don't have room to build such things on my property, but I would want to do the same. Honestly, if it was me, I wouldn't see the reason, and I probably wouldn't even have sewer. I'd probably just have a sink or something if I'm close enough, but all the same, you're not gonna run up, unless you're running a full-time business out of it, you're hardly gonna run that much water.
Right.
You're not ever gonna meet, minimums, so.
And if we decide to do it, keep it as 1 meter, we just need to do it on all the cases.
You don't think an exception program, but
right,
just
do it.
well, that's
why go back?
That's something definitely for water and sewer to discuss, because there's more than one way to do it, but I think everyone kind of agrees right now is putting a damper on development and making maybe a hardship, so. we need to find a way around it.
Just
I'll
to
put it to the committee.
clarify, please,
Mm-hmm.
were you gonna put it on the regular council agenda or?
A water and sewer committee
It'll be
meeting.
water sewer.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to come forward at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to business and discussion items. First up, we have the One Marysville requests. Mr. Wayne Cruzy.
Good evening, Council. Wayne Cruzy with One Marysville. A couple weeks ago, I went with Mark and Renee Hoffman and Roy Clark to the Iowa Bike Expo. Marcia Roselle, who's the tourism director of Manhattan for years, has said to us tourism directors, you need to go to these expos. It's a really cost-effective way to publicize your city. And this was the first one I attended, she's right. But one of the aha moments was that concept of how people, at least in that biking community, think about free camping in Marysville. As I was talking to people, talking about the Blue River Rail Trail in Marysville, when they figure out Marysville, oh, you're the place that has free camping. Usually it's, oh, you're Black Squirrel City. Of course, we love that. But this time, in this community, it was, you have the free camping. So that's been on my mind. So I hopped onto Placer AI. That's a subscription that One Marysville has. That's the one that tracks our mobile data, and then it gives us patterns, what do our travelers do, what's going on. So I looked at the data for Marysville City Park over the past 12 months. 48,200 visits have been at Marysville City Park in the past 12 months. And of those visitors, on average, they spend 70 minutes in the city park. And the way we have City Park Divine in Placer AI, that does include the pool. It's that whole area. So pool numbers come into this. Obviously, when you track that data over the past year, it spikes Mother's Day weekend because of Mother's Day market. That's the highest attendance rate. Otherwise, it's really strong. It also tracks where people go after they leave the park, and the top 4 places that people went, Walmart, Casey's, Sonic, CJ Express West. So we see this pattern that, while you're down there and you leave, you're spending money in town. The peak times are that afternoon time of 12 to 6, and Saturday is the most popular day, but really, if you look at all 7 days, they're pretty equal with attendance rates. Saturday is just a little bit higher. Of those 48,200 people, 20,000 of them were in that 15 to 29 age group, and then 12,000 were in that 30 to 44 age group. So when you think about who's in City Park overall, we're talking about youngers. You can also hop in and start looking at the zip code data. Where are these people from? So obviously the top places are all the Marshall County zip codes. Marysville's number 1, Bremen, 66412 is number 2. But once you get outside of that data, this was interesting to me. Then the next 5 tops were Manhattan, Fremont, Nebraska, Emporia, Concordia, and Wichita. That's helpful from an advertising perspective. Obviously, if those numbers are reaching to the top, what do we need to do, or how could we spend some advertising dollars there? And then, just for a comparison, it said, okay, like nationwide, they compared our city park to the Daytona RV Oasis in Daytona Beach, Florida. I've been to Daytona Beach, I haven't been to the RV Oasis, but I thought, just for a matter of perspective, that was interesting. This data, I think, is really helpful. We just bought an ad in the Kansas Magazine, and I've changed the focus of the ad. Their next issue is about land and outdoor. I'm changing the focus to include something about free camping. If we're looking at outdoor stuff, that could easily be a draw. But even as we're thinking about the restrooms in City Park or events in City Park, we see events have an impact to who spends time there. So those numbers were fascinating. We have a subscription, so if there are ever things you want data on, I'm happy to dig that up for you. Then there are 3 questions that I had in the request that I sent. Jeff Sigler is coming on February 22nd. I've mentioned Jeff in several of my weekly emails, and so someone noted that he's going to be in Beatrice on February 21st. So I reached out to him to say, hey, if you're in Beatrice, could you come to Marysville the next day? And he's like, yeah, I could make that happen. So a couple weeks ago when I said, hey, there's this possibility that he might come, within half an hour, 20 people had reached out saying, Wayne, let's get him here. We follow him. He's really motivational. He's real no nonsense. When you follow what he does on Revitalize or Die, he'll say things like, you don't improve a restaurant by adding more seats. Similarly, you don't improve downtown by adding more parking. Or he'll talk about volunteer burnout doesn't happen because people are working too hard. Volunteer burnout happens because you're not getting enough done. So he offers maybe a different approach to civic engagement, really overcoming civic apathy and focusing on that civic pride. I think we've talked about this before. If you think about how we promote Marysville, if someone has pride in the town, they're going to be promoting it for us. So when those 20 people reached out, several people said my business would be happy to support. So I'm extending an offer to the city to say, hey, city, would you like to contribute $250 to bring Jeff Ziegler to Marysville? Is request number one. Request number two, as we're looking ahead to 4th of July, traditionally, the city has contributed some money to the fireworks display. And so if you plan to do that, we're in the process of planning all of the events this year. It would be nice to know if you're going to contribute. I don't care about the amount right now, but if you're going to contribute, that would be helpful. After last year's fireworks show, remember we talked about basically a show is $1,000 a minute. And so we surveyed our members and we surveyed the community to say, hey, if you know this, how many minutes of a show would you like? And overwhelmingly, people said a 15-minute show is what they would prefer. So that helps us in planning. And then finally, as we think about 617 Broadway, we've been meeting with Will and Josh to talk about changes that need to be made there. And it occurred to us, we don't have a formal agreement with you. We've appreciated this informal agreement, but as we think about moving forward, it would probably be helpful for both parties to have some kind of a formal agreement to say, these are the expectations.
Okay, well, I guess we'll take them one at a time. What are the council members' thoughts as far as the support for bringing Jeff Ziegler here? $250 request.
When he comes, is that gonna be available to the entire public?
We've publicized it to everyone. I've also reached out to all the Marshall County towns to say, like to the clerks to say, would you make sure your city council's aware of this? I'll go to county commissioners next week as well.
Move to approve request,
Second.
$250.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Ito?
Thank you. As far as the, support for fireworks, I know it's been done a lot of different ways over the years that I've been involved, but I think we've always been involved on some level. I don't think it's something we're in a position to be footing the whole bill, but I don't think that's the ask. What's the council think? Are we going to be involved in the fireworks program for 2025 in some sense?
Were we last year?
Yeah.
I think we've always.
Last year, there was $4,000 from the transient guest tax fund that went to fireworks specifically.
But we don't need any kind of commitment for funding at this time, just
a
commitment.
yes or a no.
Yeah. So, I mean, we can do that by consensus. We don't.
I think we should have some buy-in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Everybody in agreement on that?
Yes.
We should.
Some sort of buy-in, TBD.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
fine. Yep.
And the third one, on the 617 Broadway improvements, I know that's a little bit more amorphous. I don't know if that's something that we want to have Admin and Finance
Yes.
Committee discuss and
great.
meet on. We've seen some of the preliminary drawings at our budget session, et cetera. So we have a little bit of an idea of some of what's going on there, but if we can devolve that to that committee to discuss and I suppose bring you in on that conversation, is that?
Yeah, and like right now, we're rent-free. We appreciate that, and that's the kind of thing that we would like to have clarified, just so that we're all on the same page. Is it going to be rent-free, or are we going to need to be paying rent? That will help us. So include, so I guess my point is that as well as, as we talk about improvements that need to be made.
Right, and we want to make sure we're doing, long-lasting improvements that will help it serve, the many functions we expect of the facility.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yep,
Anything else for us?
that's all.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
Okay, next up, we have the 2025 Neptune meter replacement quote. You have in front of you the quote from Municipal Supply for $80,700, which is 180 of the 5/8 meters at $295 each, and 80 of the 3/4 inch meters at $345 each. As noted in here, that will be 20 short of each size to complete the smaller meter portion of the replacement project. And then we will have to purchase some larger sizes down the line the next year or two. I've had a little bit of discussions with City Hall too. There may be some people with the way we've changed rates looking to downsize their meters, would not surprise me. So it's probably good to hold off on those bigger meters, because we may have some coming back on the shelf for use elsewhere if people need to downsize their meters. But as you can see, this is why we have to have water and sewer funds, because they're expensive. But this is a good investment to ensure we have accurate, reliable measurements, and we don't have problems at people's services.
Is this something we budgeted for this year?
Yeah.
We have,
Yeah, we usually budget around 80,000.
it's close to the budget, yeah.
They're not gonna get any cheaper, I can tell you that.
No, they're not.
Last year, we didn't buy any because they couldn't get them, right?
There were supply issues, yeah.
But now they're available.
Yeah.
And it's good that we're working through this project, so that way,
Get 'em all done.
but eventually we'll have them all done, just like, CIPP, just like manhole replacement. It's just one of those, you gotta stay on top of it, or you'll never catch up.
Do we need a motion to approve that?
Move to approve the water meter purchases.
Second.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Can we add to the motion what fund it's coming out of?
Yeah, would that be the
Water
reserve? Revenue. Water revenue.
So where it's always come from, yeah.
So amended. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Tito.
Thank
I do
you.
have one question, I didn't wanna interrupt the vote, but on the downsizing or upsizing, is there city codes that certain places have to follow for sizing, or is that by choice?
Certain things have to do with the engineer of the buildings, but generally, if we're talking about residential, it'll be either preferential from the plumber, or it'll be from our side on what makes sense. I think for the most part, we do suggest a 5/8 or 3/4 though. So, depending on what their lines look like coming to it and in the pit, most will probably be that.
So this would be, I guess the reason I asked that, this would be one more option for people, a way for people to save for the new water rate.
Potentially, yeah, and they will have to
Potentially,
address it on a
yeah.
case-by-case basis. And-
Absolutely.
And if we do get a barrage, obviously, it's not the top priority as far as projects. We need to put out, problems first, but, there are, from talking to people, some residential regular services that have a 2-inch. I think when it wasn't a cost differential, they kind of figured, well, go big or go home.
Yeah.
Well,
There are a few places where we, in the city, have fought against them going larger, but they've ultimately won out on going for the larger one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in some places, it will make sense to downsize, in some places, we can't, unless we change up a lot of other things,
Right.
so.
Perfect.
Well, if they downside their meter, who stands the cost for downsizing it?
They would.
That's what I thought.
yeah, but in theory, if the cost could pay for itself over the life of the meter several times in theory,
Yeah.
so it might make sense.
Sure.
But that's also why I wouldn't want us to have a bunch of extra meters at any point. So staging this in through right now feels like the right thing to do. So, all right, any other questions on that? Moving on to bids for the levee mowing.
So as you see before you, we received 2 bids for the levee, 3 bids for the farm ground, and we only received 1 for the hay ground at the airport. So that's why I attached the memo for the hay ground at the airport, just in case council felt like it might have not been a fair process for some reason, you know, and that's why we might have only received one.
Can you
So-
explain how that process was for getting,
Yeah, so we contacted the previous winners of the bid, so that way we got in touch with them. We also advertised, we also got in touch with others that we thought might be interested in it, based on their communication with us in the past. So we feel like we did our due diligence on it. However, there's always the chance that there was something that is a better bid out there, and we just don't know.
Do you know how many bidders we had the previous year that it went out for bid? Does anybody remember that?
I did not
I feel like
have
it was
that
more than
information.
one, I believe,
Yeah.
but I can't remember if it was 2 or 3.
So that farm ground, I thought there was 3, but don't hold me to that.
I couldn't
Well,
find it.
there's
in the
3
notes.
this time. There's
On
3
the
this
farm ground,
time.
there's 3, but
Yeah.
the hay, the hay ground,
I
I
thought last
thought,
time there was only 2 on
I thought there was more than one, but
Yeah.
we clearly,
Falls back.
I mean, we clearly need it hayed, so,
Yeah.
I mean,
Move to approve the levy bid to Kendall Peaks for $8,700.
Second.
okay. It's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
7-0.
Okay. Farm ground bids,
Move to approve farm ground bids to Robert Peaks for $110 an acre, for $5,170.
This is.
That's a low bid.
this one they're paying us. This is, they're paying us. We want the high.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
Never
yeah.
mind.
I'm all for
Sorry, I
being a
should
nice
have
guy.
explained that before.
It's
Never
inverse.
mind, never mind.
So the levy bid is the low bid,
Yeah.
farm ground is the high bid.
Move to approve Matt Pension for the farm ground bid.
second?
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
7-0.
Yeah, we
And
changed the levy bid.
what is that this year
No.
on that? Do you know what these two are that on our current?
Sorry, what was that?
For point of comparison,
We have that information in our office, I just cannot
okay.
remember.
Oh, I didn't know if you
that
had it off the top of your head, that's
No.
fine. I was just curious if it's trended down.
It was slightly, the farm
The-
ground was
yes.
slightly
Slightly lower, that's what
But the
I thought.
levy bid, I believe, was higher, wasn't it? Or no, it was lower,
lower.
yeah,
Both of
yeah.
them were slightly.
Okay, well, okay. Offsetting each other perhaps.
Yes, yeah.
All right, so, in regards to the hay ground, we've historically, when we only have one bid on something, we've either reject it without opening it, so that way we're not poisoned. We want to go out and try to seek more, but as Josh said, they've, done due diligence. We can also open and accept the one bid if we so choose. What's your thoughts?
I mean, if the city's, I trust in the city staff and what they've done, that's why I asked the question, just to get the information out there, but it sounds like they have done their due diligence, and if there's just nobody else interested, I'm not a professional, I wouldn't even know how you would advertise for that, but you guys did that as well.
Yeah, we
been in
put
the
it in the
paper.
Advocate,
Yeah,
and then we
it's all there.
contacted who currently has it, which is, Steve Bloomer, so.
It could be that just nobody else is interested.
but,
So I guess, do you want to reveal the bid information?
I don't remember the total, but it was Don Ballman,
He's had it before.
yeah, 45.
45?
Move to approve the bid for the hay ground, Don Ballman.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
7-0.
Thank you. And then, next up, we have the, snowplow street dump truck repair bids.
So council has previously saw this at the budget workshop, and as you can see, the truck repair plus, does have the lowest estimate, and they currently are the ones that have worked on this truck before, and they're, the most local, so.
Move to approve truck repair plus to repair the snowplow truck.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
I think this is a smart move, not only because they are the lowest bid, but when you think about the logistics of getting the truck somewhere else. And
The
cost of
manpower
it,
and-
it's just
yep.
gonna be extremely more to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yep,
Loading it, towing it, whatever.
Yeah.
So much cost.
all right, any further discussion?
And this will obviously happen after the season.
Yeah.
Especially with the week.
We can keep putting coolant in it for now.
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
7-0.
All right, I see no notices or hearings. We'll move into the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, so moved and second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
7-0.
And next, we have appropriations ordinance 3841.
Move to approve appropriation ordinance 3841, the amount of $317,723.58.
Second.
Okay, moved and second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call?
Stellings,
Yes.
Ferris,
Yes.
Barons,
Yes.
Keating, Eichmann,
Yes.
Brom,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Gueracke.
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you. Next, we have the city admin report. Josh?
Okay, so with the snow coming, we are ready. All of our city crew are ready. We have enough salt. We're getting the trucks ready. Which reminds me, we posted today about parking off the streets if possible. We understand it's not going to be possible for everybody, but the more cars off the streets, the easier it is to clean it and the more efficiently we will get to it. And the less times we'll have to go back and plow back in people's driveways. So, and then as a reminder, also the sidewalks, you'll have to clean off your sidewalks abutting your property 12 hours after the event. And you can refer to our code for the exact details on that. And then we continue to work with Tyler Hallman and Frontier Development Group on the Castor commercial buildings in order to get those apartments in place. Currently, we're still waiting to hear back from the Department of Commerce on the CDBG application, and then the MIH application as well. We expect here soon from CDBG, but MIH might take another month. And then we're currently working with Gilmore Bell on the RHID, which is the Reinvestment Housing Incentive District, and IRBs, which is the Industrial Revenue Bonds for the sales tax on the construction materials. So those materials should hopefully come to council next council meeting, and I believe he is going to try to be here. So if you have any questions, please come at that time. And then also I was talking with Courtney Porter, and she's willing to come back to be the pool manager. So we're going to go ahead and advertise for lifeguards this next week. So if you guys know anybody that is looking for a summer job, please send them our way. Otherwise, that should be it, other than the committee.
I know we're still a couple months out, talking about snow events for Pete's sake, but want to make sure we get ahead of de-winterizing that pool and checking for things at our absolute earliest convenience, since we've been caught short in previous years.
Yep, so we've been working on the pump recently, sent that off. They said there's no issues, we'll replace the bearings and then send it back. We're working with a group to come in early in the spring to clean all the steel. That way we get all that cleaned up. And then on the pool, or on the slides as well, since the pump wasn't the issue, we're looking at what's next. And right now that looks like it could be the sand filter. So we're looking at quotes on that. The flow issue started after the sand filter was replaced. Don't know if it has anything to do with it, but that's where we're at in the process, unfortunately.
Is there a maintenance schedule on the sand filter that could have or should have caught something or not?
I don't know about the maintenance schedule since I generally haven't looked at that, but I will talk with Tony to see what that looks like. I don't know if it was the sand filter that was the issue or use of the sand filter.
Yeah, what correlation is not causation.
Yep.
Don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts in that.
Exactly. So
like the chicken before the egg, huh?
There you go. Good
analogy.
but we really hope that it gets solved before the start, but it could also not. And we'll keep looking at things until hopefully we find something.
Well, I'm glad we have some continuity in management. That's one thing we don't have to stress about this year, which is good.
It sounds like there's a lot of lifeguards looking to come back We already got an application, so keep them coming in, and we'll get everybody certified. And then I think the assistant manager and manager are talking about getting certified so they can teach lessons. So
Really good. Yeah. Good. On the snow, I know after the previous snow event, we had talked about the odds and evens and possibly changing the program as far as how we clean streets a little bit. Clearly, we're getting pretty far into the winter to do any changing this year. But I'm also feel like it's one of those things, if we kick it down the road too far, we'll be in next winter and then discussing it and then again too late. Is that something you think it'd be an admin finance discussion, or who?
no, I figured we'd take that to the street committee. Yeah, it's always been our intention to start it immediately after the snow season. That way we can kind of have a review and we're out of it. No emotion playing a part in that decision, so.
Okay, good deal. And the other thing, kind of adding on to your comment about cleaning sidewalks, I know after the last snow event, a lot of people took a long time. Maybe they never even cleaned theirs and they eventually just melted. But be good neighbors. If you're scooping, I mean, if you can scoop, help the neighbor out a little bit, or scoop to, don't just scoop to the edge of the alley. Try to scoop all the way across the alley. Don't just scoop, to the bare minimum. Try to help each other out. It's not only good for your neighbors, it's also good for the kids who are going to school, people walking to work, etc. So I think by and large we did pretty well, but if you see an opportunity to help someone, your neighbor or somebody across town, please do that. Be considerate. So just wanted to tack that on while you were talking about it. Anything else, Josh?
That should be it. Oh, Kent is gonna be out, coming up next week for surgery, so, for the water committee, we'll wanna have that before he's gone, so.
Standing committee reports, it's not a standing committee, we did have, you mentioned or alluded to the budget work session, last week, so we gotta discuss some of the long-ranging plans and needs of some of our various departments there. I don't think we had any actual standing committee since the last.
Admin and finance.
For
Chickens.
For chickens.
Farm animals.
Yeah, indeed. It's been long enough, I already forgot. Colleen, would you like to recap the admin finance meeting, since it's obviously fresher in your mind than mine?
Well, we hashed out some different parts of an ordinance, and Sammy is drafting one based on what we gave her to do. And then, once it is finished, the council will vote on it.
Perfect.
The other thing the Admin and Finance Committee did was to, because we had one interviewee not show up for an interview for the city clerk's position, so we
had a total of
three, and we interviewed two, one didn't show up. So the consensus was the Admin and Finance Committee that we would offer Sammy the position. We just have to have a final vote from the council. So I want to make a motion to appoint Sammy as the...
Well, actually...
Hold on.
Oh, wait. I would like somebody to approve me appointing Sammy.
Oh.
I'm just for protocol.
Yeah.
Sammy Ralph as our full-time
That's our recommendation, Todd.
city clerk at the rate of $33 an hour. So would anybody move to?
I'll make a motion to approve Todd's appointment.
I will second it.
Okay, there we go. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You know.
Welcome, Sam.
Good to have you on board. Good to keep you on board, I guess.
Sammy, that was your last chance to say no.
You're locked in now. Yep. All right, there were no other standing committee reports. There were no other appointments or wage terminations. Kind of jumping around.
Do we want to set committee meetings?
Yeah, we probably need to set water, sewer, and city, and admin, finance. You said water sewer is kinda hotter.
Yeah, it needs, when does
Can't-
Kent go?
The 19th is the surgery, I think.
So I would either suggest having it either this Thursday or maybe next Tuesday.
I'm available whenever, so,
I'm out Monday, Tuesday of next week.
so Thursday.
I can't do Thursday, but I could do Tuesday. But I don't have to be there, clearly.
I can do either.
Is there a possibility of next Wednesday? Would be best for me.
Kent won't be there.
Yeah.
Oh, he won't be there by then?
No.
That's when he's having.
That's
And then, of
Thursday,
course,
surgery.
Monday is a holiday.
Oh, you mean Thursday this week?
Yes.
Yep, Thursday.
Yeah, I'm good Thursday this week.
20th, right?
The
13th.
Well,
Or 13th, sorry, it was a week off, yeah.
could we do it right after 5? I could do it if we do it right after, I mean, like, basically at 5.
I can make that work.
Better 4:30 or whatever works better.
Yeah.
5 or just a little after,
That work best for you?
yeah, 'cause I
So let's just say 5, that work?
5. If I'm a few minutes late, go ahead and start.
Okay.
And we're gonna do both then, or just water?
It's just water and.
Okay.
And that's on the 13th?
5 PM, February 13th.
5.
And we have the information on the water line on Keystone and then the separate connections. Is there anything else?
Yeah, just what Kent wanted to talk about.
I think that was
That's already
the
on there.
Keystone water line
Okay.
is, he
Yeah,
has
water
those numbers now.
connection. We don't need any updates on anything,
Nope.
right? I think that's it.
Okay, then admin finance, we pulled employees for the 457 account, so we'll have those results for that committee, and then also discuss the spitting limit, and then the animal ordinance if we have that drafted. So, and I don't know that we have any specific days that we care on the staff side.
Yeah, I don't. I'm pretty free now on my nights, so.
Definitely not this week anymore.
What about next Wednesday, a week from this Wednesday? So, okay,
19th?
no,
Best for me.
that doesn't work for you?
No, that's
Colleen?
best for me.
That's best for you. She's saying no, you're saying heck yes.
Thursday?
Thursday would work.
Okay.
I cannot do, this Thursday or next Thursday?
Next Thursday.
I cannot do that Thursday.
I can do any day but Wednesday next week.
What about Tuesday next week?
He said he won't be.
Oh, you're not here Tuesday?
At 5?
Yeah.
About,
Tuesday at 5? That work for you?
it depends on if I'm still working full-time, which I don't know.
Tell
right now.
Jim you got somewhere to be.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Otherwise, it'd be like, tonight it was 5:20.
We can figure this out.
Well, let's say 5:15 tentatively.
Okay,
How about that?
That would
Okay.
be great.
On the 18th.
The 18th.
Okay.
Okay, that'll set us for now. We don't need a street committee meeting yet. That's down the road.
That
so-
he said that was after the
Yeah,
season.
yeah. We'll wait till spring.
Yeah.
No, that's, yeah. I was gonna say, maybe can we add that to the back of the,
Yeah.
let's add.
the list? That's a good idea.
That is
The tabled or others.
the-
Yeah, please.
What are we adding?
The odd even snowplow
Oh, yeah.
schedule design, for lack of a better term. All right. Okay, next up we have city attorney. Good nobbing.
Nada. Let's see, Josh, we met when? Last Thursday?
Was it
Or
Thursday
or
or
was
was
it
it
Wednesday?
Wednesday?
It was Wednesday, yeah. Discussed a number of items, a couple that we're going to be working on is a street dedication, which is, I guess, the term for the opposite of a vacation, so a creation of a street. So we'll be talking about that in the weeks to come. And then been working on a quiet title for an impounded vehicle, as well as some other potential litigation issues that we can discuss later. So yeah, have a fair number of irons in the fire, and yeah, been making some good progress on some things, I think.
And we have a draft to review of the charter
Yes.
ordinance.
Yes, and we have a new draft of that charter ordinance, taking some of the feedback that I believe you guys made last meeting, so we have a draft for that as well.
So do we need to do an executive session to look at that?
I don't think that should be discussed in executive.
No, yeah, that can be discussed in open, the other one was, right?
I think that's part of the, should that be part of this upcoming admin?
Finance to review that as a
Review it
final.
one more time,
Yeah,
put eyes on
we
it.
add that to the admin finance agenda. Good idea. Just to make sure all the i's are dotted, t's are crossed, that it's doing all the things we want it to do. And nothing we don't want it to do.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? That kind of covered the projects. Does anyone have need for an executive session?
No.
Are you
I do
sure?
not.
We might want to discuss one with the assistance of our city inspector, an issue regarding, housing.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's do that.
I don't know where that falls under the rubric of
I think potential litigation.
potential litigation. Okay.
How long do we need?
20, 15?
20 minutes?
Let's do 20 and be careful.
I move the city council recess into executive session for consultation with an attorney on matters deemed privileged in attorney-client relationship about litigation or claims against the city, KSA 75-4319B2. This meeting will include the mayor, city council, city administrator, city attorney, and city inspector. And this open meeting will resume in the city council chamber at 8:05.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
8:00.
Regular session from executive session where no binding decisions were made. Do we need any more executive sessions? No? Okay. We will move to council comments. Lori?
I got nothing.
Sheree?
I don't have anything either. Oh, well, there's a new thing on Facebook about concerned citizens. I don't know if everybody's seen them. About, it's just a website, Concerned Citizens.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of negative, but there has been a couple things where people touch on stuff that bothers them, which we may not hear out here. You
Oh,
know?
I agree. I mean, people need a place to vent, I guess.
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah. I won't answer anything on it, I just read them.
I think by and large, my comment when people ask me about things is, that's an interesting idea. Please feel free to come to council. Please feel free to reach out to your council members, me, the city hall, be involved. Like, that's a good way to get answers and to make change, so.
But at least they're showing their concern to what's bothering them.
Yeah.
If they would come here, we'd listen to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we'll answer questions as best we can. That's whenever, you know, it's somebody who may not have an easy to answer question, it stinks. But I feel like we are responsible to answer to people. If they, you know, come to us with respectful questions, we'll give them respectful answers too.
Very good.
Colleen?
Nothing.
Jeff?
I would, just to add to Wayne's comments, for the 4th of July, I was surprised when he brought up the fact that they were thinking about doing fireworks, because I definitely am a little expended when it comes to fundraising for that project. But my intention this year was to reach out to a local person that has done some shows and maybe support them in a fashion, especially if he could do it in a setting and maybe do it under the umbrella of the city when it comes to, city helps keep some clearance from what he's doing. And I've talked to the guy that helped us the last 2 years. He does a show like that out in McPherson, where it's strictly class 1 type of product. It's a lot cheaper, a lot more little stuff, but a lot of stuff. And he's had very good luck with it, and he's willing to kind of help maybe a few local people here get something like that going.
Sounds
Which
great.
you know, the big shows are fun. They are fun. They look cool. But it is also a $1,000 a minute show. So if we get that down to maybe, you know, 150 to 200 a minute, that sounds a lot funner. So, which I doubt we'll get to that point, but we can work at it. So yeah, I was surprised to hear him bring it up, because that's the first time I heard. I was kind of just trying to stay in the background on that whole project. And
okay, well, thanks for your work on it as well.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Keith?
Just looking at the tabled items, I think we could probably knock off if we decide something on moving the meeting times. I mean, we got city attorney coming from Sabetha, so I don't know what.
How do you feel about meeting times?
No, I think, I mean, selfishly, I think 7 works well for me. My kiddo goes to bed at 6, so I'm able to 5 to an hour with him, and then 6 I'm out the door here. So it makes no difference to me, but I have no problem with this time here.
We just had tinkered previously with moving it to 6:30, but I don't think anybody was dead set on that. It was just subject for discussion, but I think we're all still pretty used to the 7 o'clock time. So you like to remove that from the... Okay, we can just remove that one. I think that's not a bad thing to do.
Appreciate the consideration, though.
What else on here, Keith?
I don't know if we could decide on the city administrator spending limit, or
That's the admin and finance.
We can-
That's on our agenda for the meeting.
that's still on there?
That's at our next meeting.
Next
Yep.
meeting.
Okay.
So, do we need to do animal control cats on admin and finance if we're gonna?
This animal control cats is more for the police and fire committee. I know we were, kind of looking for solutions still for that, so that's why it's
That can be in
on
hold.
here.
Well, we're obviously dealing with the charter ordinance number 5 on there.
And number two-
Number 2.
It's coming up.
Is coming up.
Yeah.
So we are making progress on this list.
What about 7 and 8, what are those?
That we need to discuss with the, city prosecutor about what needs to be changed to more align with our current, or with state, statutes from what we currently are. So it just needs to be more of a discussion with him. It's okay that we haven't adopted them yet, because we adopted the last, but we would like to get that, so that way we're not adopting them without considering our changes or exceptions also.
And because all that has to be printed someplace else and sent to us, correct?
We already have the books.
Right.
But, yeah.
But the changes have to be,
I'd have to look at that specifically, but we,
So that's on your plate?
yeah.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Okay. Thanks, Keith. Kevin?
Yeah, the purple lights are starting to show up around town again. I know KPNL or Evergy came in last time and changed a bunch of them out. Do they have a plan to do that again? Do we know?
I hadn't heard of any purple lights, so
I didn't know, didn't think they even ever got all of them changed.
I don't think they did the first time either.
Yeah.
but
Do we need to report them to them, or do they just go out and check?
I don't
them?
know, that's why
I
I'm
would say,
asking.
let's get locations of each of them, and then we'll start conversations with them.
About 40 of them.
Oh my God.
You got the list?
Well, it's, when I see them in the morning,
Okay.
driving around, is when I notice them.
Carrying a little flip pad.
Yeah, I know, start writing them down. But I don't remember, they took care of them all though, didn't they?
No,
No,
I
they
think there
were
were always
subcontract.
one or two.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
always been a few.
Or down at
in
the end of a
town.
dead-end street, the south end of 15th Street. I think that one was one that got missed because it was all the way at the end, so nobody drove by it. Yeah,
I just noticed it in the last,
And I go to other towns and I see them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not out at night that often, but
Right.
I have gone and I've seen them too.
Manhattan's got quite a few of them.
Yes.
But they probably like them down there.
gross. Anyway,
That's all I have, sir.
all right, thanks.
Couple things, I did notice some of our glass globe lights on Broadway and stuff, or have, I don't know if we have LED light bulbs or what in them, but some are out.
Come out.
Yeah, and some of them flicker.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
a little stroby.
And
I will
then,
send our water department.
okay, any updates on 12th Road?
I need to write up the bid documents.
Okay,
So
but we're making
that
progress.
is where we're at, and once I get those written up,
Good.
then it'll be out and posted, so.
So we're gonna have actual movement on 12th Road to start the process of making it safer and improved, because it's been a long time coming.
A long time.
I know, and that's part of the conversation I've had with people in regards to some of the other, the water and sewer rate increases, is that we'll take some pressure off our sales tax fund and let us tackle things like that.
Absolutely.
All has to come from somewhere. Did you have something you wanted to kick in on the subject of
Can you
lights?
yield any time to me? A very good comment was brought up to me by someone that I'm driving to work this morning. They decided to take the lower, we call it the lower tension road from Keystone. With the increase in water and sewer rates, and maybe it's already on the docket, or we're already talking about doing it, like cleaning up the tower down by tension and painting it?
The moss growing on it?
It might
was
look,
discussed at the budget workshop.
okay.
Yes.
I think we should probably put a little attention to that, maybe a little more urgent before than after.
Kent says there's so much dust down there that's what causes that.
I'm sure it is. There might be something to talk to some people. We got some contacts at like 3M and places like that on something that's made for that high moisture content.
I've actually
and-
talked to some people in that area of expertise, and there are chemicals in certain paints and things like that they can put on there, so.
Yeah.
Like antimicrobial or something that kind of,
There's like an
inhibit
additive
it.
they can put in the paint to help subside
Seal
it.
it down.
That could be something we put in the bid proposal. Add that,
yeah.
let it go.
Since
that's
we
an
know it's a
issue.
problem,
Right,
because
yeah.
it's been cleaned maybe 2 times in 10 years or something. I don't remember the last time.
Every couple of years they do it, don't they? Every 3
Last
years?
As
time
far
they
as-
sandblasted that whole north side of it, though.
That's right, because it was, some
Actually,
of it was
they,
flaking.
didn't they soda blast it?
It might have been soda.
I think Knopf did that.
Oh, did he?
I don't know
I
who
think
did
so.
it. I know
I think it was
got
John.
blasted last time, I know.
Okay,
I'll yield my time back.
but yeah,
Okay.
it definitely needing the love again, so.
I had one more thing before.
Sure.
So
Are you
just
done, Joe? Back to the south.
Keep in mind when the snow's coming, be nice to our city crews, cause they stay up very late and early, should I say, out till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning doing that work for us. I know sometimes it can get frustrating with the way we have things, but maybe with this new odd and even thing, we can, clear up some of those issues. But just keep in mind, they work their tails off for us. Don't be upset with them. That's all I got.
And to lead into that, anytime you can avoid parking on the street in events like this is greatly appreciated.
Agreed. All right, Kyle.
Nope, just wanting to remind everybody to be safe and hopefully our city crews stay safe and get this next precipitation event.
Maybe it won't even happen.
Yes, let's hope.
But still be safe.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say no to the moisture, just maybe not like that.
Yeah.
I just had a couple things. One kind of reminded me when you were talking about the tank down there. Somebody had asked me, they were just, I guess, because of the water conversation lately, what is our program for testing? I know we're mandated by the state. Do we test it weekly, bi-weekly? Do you know?
It depends on the type of test that we run. And
Okay,
we'd have
certain
to
ones
talk
get
with
done
our,
overnight in.
water operator, which is Kent. There's different things that you have to test in the water, and there's always different things that are coming from the state, for updates to that. So, the wells are tested for nitrates, that type of stuff. So if you want exact details, I'd say reach out to us at
Well,
City Hall.
I just knew that there is regular testing, so, because that was their
and that
question.
will be in, I think that's usually in the report every year, so.
The other thing was, it was kind of been discussed again with the water and sewer rate increases is putting a hardship on some folks, especially on fixed incomes, about having some sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, payment flex program or some sort of assistance program designed, if not to provide direct monetary assistance, to at least provide some flexibility. Of course, we don't want to do anything that's just going to make a bureaucratic nightmare for city staff. We're still short-staffed in City Hall. But I think if we can maybe put that on the Water and Sewer Committee meeting, kind of what that program might look like, because I think we're going to be faced with it pretty quickly. I can speak to when my grandparents had a bill go up by $5. It was like a big deal. This is clearly more than $5 for a lot of people. So if we can find a way to try to help the most, negatively impacted in our community, I think we need to do that. We've done what we can to stage this in. We've done what we can to do it smart with an explanation so we can really show that we have to do it. But I think that doesn't make it any easier when you're short grocery money because everything's more expensive than it was. So if we can find a way to help these people and flex with these people, that'd be good. So not to keep adding things to that meeting, I'll be there too.
I would say I'll research those things, but if you find anything that other cities do or whatnot, you too, Josh, but if you're gonna research that, I will, but if you can send that to me so I can bring it up.
Yeah. And I know, Josh, I know you're familiar with what some other towns have done and different programs. Like I said, I understand why, eventually the bill has to be paid, so we can't just kick it indefinitely, but we're not here to make it any tougher than we have to. If whatever flexibility we can.
Water bill goes up, health insurance goes up, house insurance
I
goes
know.
up. All that of mine went up this year.
Water rates haven't gone up basically in
I
a
know.
decade,
I
and
know.
so I kind of go, well, what was my gas bill? What was my electric bill 10 years ago? Yeah, no, they've crept up, which was what we should have been doing.
Yep.
It would have made a lot better, it would have made it a lot easier for people to adapt to it. And I'm as guilty as anybody who is here. the decision was made by leadership in the governing body to not do it for 1 year, and then they just kept not doing it because it's unpopular. And this isn't popular either for good reason, but we don't have a choice.
And you know, stuff like that slips through the cracks too, because you forget it 1 year, and then
Yes.
the next thing you know, we're
Well,
5 years down.
and we had some reserves, and we didn't have any huge expenses, but our expenses have gone up too,
Yep.
supplies, labor, everything. So the long and short of it is, it sucks, there's no two bones about it, buck stops here, we're aware. But if we don't do it, we're gonna be in worse financial straits soon. And it's awfully hard to recruit people to a town that doesn't have running water.
Yeah, it'd be worse if the water got shot off. I know.
Exactly.
For sure.
And, I mean, so, but we do what we can there.
What I wanna know, well, my question would be, can the committee decide on a magic number, to be satisfied where that fund is? If we're satisfied with that, lower it back to where it was? We just wanna keep the rate.
I don't think we can.
Yeah, I don't think we can't do that.
Can't. We-
I think it was,
This rate increase was the minimum amount we could raise it, or we'd be $50,000 in the red come middle of the
We're just trying to keep our head above water. If there's a silver lining, and I know it's not the kind of thing that's, you know, easy to sell.
I get asked that question,
Yeah, and I've had people ask me, they're like, well, couldn't you pull the money from somewhere else? And it's like, yeah, I don't know where that is. I mean, once you deplete the sales tax, you deplete other things, then you can't do streets, you can't do other projects, then you're purely living in debt. And then how are you gonna pay for the debt? I mean, it's a cycle, it's a cycle that it only will get worse. This is the way the bleeding has to stop, and this is where we're just gonna have to do that. The good news is, like I said, the silver lining is in 10 years, if we stay on course with these, I don't want to say pegged to inflation increases, this won't happen again. There won't be a jump. It'll go up small every year, like it should, to offset expenses, and it won't seem like a crazy jump in the future. And there's nothing else we can do about it. We just have to. We're not doing extravagant projects. We're not doing water parks with this water and sewer money. We're buying meters and we're fixing lines and trying to prevent leaks and trying to maintain quality, making sure that you have pressure and clean water and the sewer goes where it's supposed to and not in the river. We've invested a lot in our system because we've needed to. We're in a good place as far as the system, but that's where the money went. And we've got to make sure we keep money in there so we can keep hitting challenges head on and stay ahead of problems, so.
I talked to Rob Peschel, and the way they did it when he was on council way back when, is instead of paying cash for everything, they just took out loans. And they just seemed to got ahead.
There's a place.
They built up that general fund so high that eventually we stopped taking out loans for everything and start paying cash for everything. Now we're down.
There's a place for both, is my take on it. There's a place for debt and there's a place for cash. And I think a lot of good projects are some element of both because you don't have to borrow as much. So you'll pay it off quicker, etc. And I know that's, as long as I've been on council, because I took Rob's seat when he left council. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm the 5th mayor since I've been on council, or on the governing body. And it's changed a little bit every time, kind of what that balance looks like. But I'll tell you, from my perspective right now, money isn't cheap right now, so it's a difficult time to take out debt. So we're in the cash side of that equation, but I agree. There's a lot of projects.
The sad thing is, we were in the position to take out debt at a very low rate.
Correct.
And leverage the sales tax fund that was coming in to pay that debt.
Right.
But previous councils were very much against doing it.
There's not been the political will to do it.
Right.
And there's a lot of good projects that could have been done and wouldn't be a headache for us now if we'd borrowed the money when the time was right. But that's not where we are.
Nope.
All we can do is try to do what's right now and plan for the next X many years and hope the next governing body and the one after that understand those needs as well.
Well, but we do have some debt from loans, from things we've done.
And we've just incurred some to fix, like storm sewer issues, stormwater issues, and that's certainly.
And the rest of the lagoon is, yes.
So, I mean, yeah, we do take on some
Firehouse,
debt,
the lights.
it's a balance. It's a balancing act. I mean, I like that we have like equipment reserves. There was a time at council, 8 years ago-ish, when there was a big push that we don't need equipment reserves. Oh, no. I like being able to pay cash for buying equipment. I think that makes sense for us.
It's more fiscally responsible
I
to
think
the
so.
taxpayer.
I disagree.
Well, that's fine. You're absolutely welcome to disagree. No, I feel like there's a place for both. I feel like right now, with the way inflation's gone, with the way interest rates have gone, I don't think we have a lot of other choices. So, at any rate, if we can try to work with the most vulnerable in our community, I think that'd be great. The only other thing I had, this is something I've talked to Josh a little bit about, and there's a lot of different ways to look at it. But something we don't allow with our city Facebook posts is commenting unless it's specific topics. So like job postings, city council meetings, what was another one? There's a couple that are kind of,
When water lines are being repaired or water shut off.
people can share it to people that it matters. Now, I think even with you can't comment, you can still share the posts. But like here of late, the water and sewer one, the incoming snowbound one, etc., have brought it to where I've had people go, why aren't you allowing commentary? And at first my instinct was like, yeah, no, people should be allowed to comment. And I talked to Josh a little bit about it, and the other side of that perspective is, or the other perspective on that is, how do you curate that? Because it's either wide open or it's shut off. Because if you try to curate it, you're curating free speech. And I don't want us to be in the business of saying, I don't like that comment, we're deleting that one, hey, that one's good, let's leave it. Ooh, that's a tough road to go down. But this is a policy issue, and I told the people I've talked to about it, I said, I feel like the council should discuss it and it should be aired. What are your opinions on it? Should it be the Wild West? Should we allow the commenting? Should we not allow the commenting? I just want us to be, as long as we're consistent with it and we can articulate the reason for why we do what we do.
I do have one thing to say about that.
Yeah.
If we put a post out without comments, it's to get the information out there. People can still comment. There's 1,000 empty seats out there where they can come every time we have a meeting and comment all they want.
And I'm happy when people share our posts too. If they share them to other places and pages or on their page or whatever and comment to it, I think that's great too. I mean, that's what we want, is the message to get out.
Right. So if we just allow that commentary on there, is it doing any good?
No.
Is it helping the information get out there?
Somebody actually sitting at their desk following the commentary? Like, are we,
Right.
you know, like, are we paying somebody to sit and watch every Facebook comment that comes in?
I think, and you can turn on post approval and things, but again, that's just somebody having to do it. And also, I feel like you start we are the government, running afoul of what free speech is.
Right. So I think if information just going out to inform the general public, there's really no reason to have comments. That's just my personal opinion, right or not.
People will say on Facebook things they wouldn't say to your face or wouldn't say in public any other way. It gives them some anonymity. Yes, it says it's them, but they're bolder, I guess I would say.
But if they want to comment, they all have our public emails and everything, that could allow for that. I just think the message is going out there to inform the public. It's not to create discussion.
Correct.
This is what's going on. Here's the information. Just be aware of it. And I think just adding a commentary at that point isn't solving any type of issue.
Oh, no, it's not. It's creating more problems.
Right.
And I, like I said, and I'll be really fair. There's a lot of times I hear complaints from the same people and over, which I'm not saying it's boy cried wolf, but I wonder, but this one's people who haven't reached out about anything else. And these are people I would consider pretty thoughtful. And their concern is it looks like we're not being communicative or being transparent. Now, I didn't read it that way, and I don't read it that way, but I can understand why people would read it that way. So I think if it's something where we want it to be our policy that we don't allow commenting on there, then like you said, we have other avenues for people to communicate with us, but we need to be greasing the heck out of those rails. I mean, we need to really do all we can as far as, I don't know if we obviously meet here every other week, but listening sessions or getting, I know I brought this up before, and it's not popular to have an email address that's just basically a comments section. I know that's gonna be a ton of stuff we don't necessarily wanna read, but I don't know what harm it does for
But
us to have a place
who's
to-
gonna,
Who's gonna read it?
Oh, I'll read it.
go ahead.
I've been called worse. No, I mean, I think we've discussed at the work session, possibly doing like an app or making it slicker and easier for people to have quick communication, whether it's just asking questions or providing comments. Like I said, I'm happy if people share our posts, even if they're sharing it in a way I don't particularly personally like. Great, share it, be involved, read it, get more people reading it. I don't want people to think we're doing anything untoward, but I do understand why we can't just go and pick winners and losers. We can't say we only want to hear, we only want certain comments, so.
It's safer just to
But
leave it as empty.
it's not something we've ever discussed here, and, I mean, we don't have, thankfully, a city Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat or whatever, and that's just fine. But I think it's the kind of thing where as more and more information, for better or worse, gets shared that way, we can stay in front of and make sure we do have a way to explain the way we're communicating.
Yeah, and maybe, I like your app, the app idea.
I think that's a good idea for down the line. I think that'll be a good tool for our community. But, all right, anybody have anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
You're welcome.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Ada.
Or adjourned.